오늘 저희와 함께할 분은 월가에서 가장 통찰력 있는 분석을 내놓는 인물 중 한 명이죠. 웨드부시의 글로벌 테크 리서치 총괄 댄 아이브스입니다. 투자자분들이 가장 궁금해하는 테슬라와 엔비디아 그리고 팔란티어의 향방, 국내 증시에 미치는 영향까지 이 시간 모든 것을 함께 파헤쳐 보도록 하겠습니다. Hello, Dan. It's nice to meet you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting my interview request, and I've been a great fan of you for a very long time.
Thank you so much.
We'll deep dive into the signals the market is sending, and let's talk about the overall market first. So stocks are jumping up and down because of Trump's word. And up till now, April 2nd tariff feels like they're essentially off. But it's Trump, so it's hard to actually relax. What's your read on that?
Trump's going to continue to sort of take tariffs off, take them on. I think the street's sort of reading through this as basically seeing like the bar's going to be worse than the bite. It's not going to be as bad as I think investors first thought. It clearly could still change, but I mean, I think a lot of bad news is baked into these stocks. And I think at the end of the day, the tariffs are not going to be as draconian as maybe are factored into the stocks right now.
Trump keeps claiming that tariff will cause little disturbance to the stock market, but some experts warn that a recession may be on the horizon right now. Pressure is actually mounting on the global markets, including South Korea. When do you expect the markets to actually recover?
I mean, I think as we get into the summer, investors are going to have a much clearer view of the tariffs. I mean, our view continues to be when it comes to Canada, Mexico, a lot of those tariffs probably end up getting resolved. The reciprocal ones, I think those are going to, probably play out, but maybe there'll be some exceptions. And then when it comes to China, when does Trump sit down with Jinping? Like, there's like, is that summit in the summer? And that's where I think the China tariffs, which even when you look throughout Asia and Korea and some of the other markets, there's been a huge overhang. I think a lot of that dark cloud starts to lift in the summer. I mean, we think all-time highs will be hit in the second half of the year.
Okay. So the White House announced recently new investment from Hyundai. In the domestic stock market, you cited Hyundai Motors as stock to watch. What do you think the effects will be?
Well, I think Hyundai, look, they've bet huge on EV, right? And I think when you think about outside GM, Ford, Stellantis, and others, I mean, Hyundai could clearly be like a top 3 EV maker in the US. They obviously have factory in the US. They doubled down at the White House in terms of those investments. And I think that's really them recognizing that they feel like they could be in that sort of top 3. Now, obviously with Tesla at the top, a huge move for Hyundai. It just shows them sort of doubling down when it comes to some of these initiatives.
Now, let's deep dive into the individual stocks and analyze them in detail. Nvidia stocks has dropped over 20% from its recent peak. And as an Nvidia shareholder myself, I have to say that it's been quite painful for me to watch this. But the thing is, fundamental is good, but the question is the expectations. Do you think Nvidia will fulfill people's expectations? And if so, when would that be? And I'm wondering, why are analysts so bullish when they can't exactly exceed a lot?
I mean, they're a victim of their own success, right? So I think if you look at Nvidia, I mean, it's our view this is a $200 to $225 stock when you look at it over the next year. But I think investors are going through a digestion period. When you have these massive beats and then you start to have smaller beats, investors think, like, is it over? But the reality is when it comes to Blackwell, the AI revolution, we're still in the early days of this all playing out. And there's only one chip that could fuel the AI revolution. It's Nvidia.
I think for many people out there, things still hasn't recovered from the DeepSeek revelation of the last 2 months or so. What did the Nvidia CEO do to encounter these concerns during this GTC?
I mean, I think, what Jensen talks about is similar to our view. Like DeepSeek is not a negative. I mean, DeepSeek, it's a cheaper model, which ultimately is more and more bullish for GPU capacity and even use cases when it comes to Nvidia as well as broader AI. I also think when you look at DeepSeek, as more comes out about it, you probably add a few commas to the 6 million. Did they use next gen Nvidia hardware? So I think it left scars like you're talking about from an investor perspective. But I think a lot of that was probably not the right move, given the reality. Any major AI deployment needs Nvidia.
When you look beneath the surface of S&P 500 or Nasdaq, it really feels like the high flyers of last year that are leading the way lower. Can you understand what's behind some of the shift away from big tech, and particularly why certain names have gotten so disproportionately beaten up, like Nvidia, Tesla, and Broadcom, and so on?
I think it's a risk off in this market. I think investors are just more and more worried about tariffs, what that might mean for the high flyers incrementally hit. Tesla specific example that obviously has other issues going on as well. But I don't think it's the end of the Mag 7. I mean, our view is like Mag 7 continues to lead this market higher. We're just going through a risk off environment that's really been tariff and uncertainty driven. And the valuations, because you don't have true valuation support, those stocks, specifically in tech, are going to be the ones that take it the most in the chin.
Speaking of tech stocks, it's not just Nvidia facing challenges. Tesla has also been under significant pressure. Let's take a closer look at what's driving the recent decline. So Tesla's story is a bit hairier, and you talked about the moments of truth, like the Doge involvement of Elon Musk. Tesla has become a slight political symbol. Frankly, BYD is presenting a real competitive edge to Tesla and showing their dominance inside the regions. How do you see Tesla's shares now?
I mean, look, we've been here many times with Musk in terms of back against the wall. Now, look, this time's obviously different because of the political angle, Doge, it's a lightning rod situation. It's definitely been a brand crisis, but I don't believe it leaves a permanent black eye. I mean, I think he's going to start to better balance Doge as well as being, CEO of Tesla. I think he did that last week with the all hands meeting. That was a huge step forward. So, look, I believe this is a $2 trillion base case valuation. Autonomous robotics, the future. Oh, BYD, phenomenal product for everything they're doing. But when it comes to global domination, I think two biggest disruptive technology players in the world are Nvidia and Tesla. So I don't think that this in itself, despite the lightning rod situation politically, is a black swan event for Tesla, which is why, our view has been you buy this name on the sell off.
The problem is that there are also anti-Elon Musk meme going on. How much do you think this scar will pull Tesla's stock down? And how long do you think Musk have until this story gets away from him?
But I mean, I could argue there's conservatives now that are buying Teslas as well. And the reality is, for the third year in a row, 2025, it will be the Model Y will be best-selling car in the world. So, look, have they lost customers? Yeah. Is there brand damage? Of course. But if you look at the global brand of Tesla, it doesn't change our view where this is going. And look, there are when you look at Facebook and Zuckerberg, I mean, they went through the political firestorm, 2016 election, everything else. Everyone's like, is that the end? Is it over for Zuckerberg and Meta? Look at them today. So I'm just saying it's very easy in the eye of the storm to think that that's going to be a moment.
Just what you said. A month ago, you mentioned that best is yet to come for Tesla. You thought the proximity of power with Trump and Musk was going to unleash the epic demand for Tesla. Is the stock failing to impress you? And how do you see the target price now at this point?
I mean, I think the long-term story continues to be there. In terms of autonomous, the best thing that ever happened to Musk is Trump. Now, in the near term, Doge clearly has been more of an overhang, and it's kind of almost a life of its own in terms of what it's taken on. But it doesn't change our view that this is a $550 base case, and I think bull case 650 in terms of where this ultimately heads over the next 12 to 18 months.
One more question. Beyond M7, Magnificent 7, is Palantir still on your radar? Jeffers noted that Palantir is underperforming the market despite the AI momentum. With the valuation still under pressure, what sets Palantir apart from its competitors right now?
Yeah, and when you talk about underperforming the market, I mean, those are, a lot of those people, they've been negative from 10 to 100 in the last year. So, I mean, the stock's a 10 bagger, probably the best performing tech stock, in the, overall NASDAQ. I mean, my view is this is $1 trillion market cap in the next 2 to 3 years. They will own AI when it comes to the software side. And I just think it's one, if you focus just on valuation, you missed every transformational tech stock the last 20 years, which is why I view Palantir, they are going to be a household name over the coming years as they continue to dominate the AI use cases.
You mentioned more MS, Palantir, Apple, and also Tesla and other tech stocks. I'm wondering, what's your best tech stock?
Look, if I can own any stock here, period, it's Tesla over the next year because you're really playing the autonomous and robotics vision. And I think relative to where the stock is today, I mean, I think this stock's probably a double next 12 to 18 months.
So you think that I actually sold all my Tesla stocks like 2 weeks ago because it was going down so much. So would you recommend me to just buy the stocks now because it's going to go up in the other half of the year?
I mean, obviously, it all depends on everyone's risk. But I mean, my view is the two best tech companies in the world are Nvidia and Tesla, in my opinion. And despite tariffs or valuation, where everything is heading, I mean, I think those continue to be our two best plays.
Okay, thank you for replying to all my questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 오늘 정말 대단한 인물을 모시고 인터뷰를 진행했는데요. 매우 유익하고 즐거운 시간이었습니다. 시청자 여러분께서도 많은 인사이트를 얻어 가셨기를 바랍니다. 오늘 엔비디아부터 빅테크 기업들 그리고 그들이 한국 시장에 미치는 영향까지 깊이 있게 분석해 봤는데요. 이를 바탕으로 성공적인 투자 결정하시길 바랍니다. 오늘도 함께해 주신 여러분 고맙습니다. Thank you, Dan.
Nice talking to you, okay?